He made a reckless vow at his own birthday party, a drunken promise to marry the next woman who walked through his door. But when a humble delivery girl stepped into his mansion, neither of their lives would ever be the same. A millionaire with everything money could buy but nothing that mattered, a woman fighting for her dreams against all odds, and a mother determined to keep them apart at any cost. In a world where wealth divides and status defines, can love truly conquer all, or will society's expectations tear them apart just when they've found something real? Will his impulsive promise lead to heartbreak, or could this unlikely match be exactly what both of them needed all along? Subscribe now and drop a comment if you've ever believed that true love can cross any boundary, because this story of passion, betrayal and impossible choices is about to show you why some vows are worth keeping, even when the whole world says you shouldn't. The crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead like 1,000 tiny stars. Music played softly in the background as waiters in crisp black suits moved through the crowd carrying silver trays of champagne. Ethan Ward stood alone by the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse, watching his birthday party unfold, without feeling any joy. 30 years old today, and what did he have to show for it? Money, sure, lots of it. His tech company had made him rich beyond his dreams. But as he looked around at the sea of designer dresses and expensive watches, he couldn't name 5 people who truly cared about him. He sipped his whiskey and let the bitter taste match his mood. Can you believe Ethan's still single? A woman's voice drifted over from nearby. Ethan froze. He recognized the voice. Melissa, a socialite who had been chasing his money for years. I know, another voice answered. All that money and he can't keep a girlfriend. Must be something wrong with him. They laughed, not knowing he could hear every word. He's probably too busy counting his millions to notice a woman, Melissa said. Poor little rich boy. More laughter. Ethan's hand tightened around his glass. These people were supposed to be his friends. They ate his food, drank his expensive alcohol, and then mocked him behind his back. Happy birthday to me, he muttered, finishing his drink in one gulp. He signaled a waiter for another. 3 drinks later, Ethan's anger had grown into something reckless. He climbed onto a chair and clinked a spoon against his glass until the room fell silent. Thank you all for coming to celebrate my 30th birthday, he said, his words slightly slurred. I've been hearing some interesting comments tonight about my love life, or lack thereof. Nervous glances shot across the room. Melissa's face turned bright red. Well, I've made a decision, Ethan continued, raising his glass high. I'm tired of the games, tired of wondering who wants me and who wants my money. So here's my birthday resolution. I'm going to marry the next woman I see who isn't in this room right now. That's right. The very next woman to walk through that door will be my future wife. A shocked silence filled the room. Someone laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke. Ethan's face remained serious. You can't be serious, said James, his business partner. Dead serious, Ethan replied, stepping down from the chair. I'm a man of my word. The next woman through that door, that's the one. Why not? Could I do worse than shallow gold diggers? The room erupted in whispers. Ethan smiled, enjoying the chaos he'd caused. Let them talk. At least now they had something real to gossip about. Just then, a loud knock interrupted the stunned silence. Everyone turned toward the door. Perfect timing, Ethan said, walking toward the entrance. Let's meet my future wife, shall we? He swung the door open with a flourish. Standing in the hallway was a young woman holding a small cardboard box. She wore a simple blue uniform, with a company logo on the breast pocket. Her curly black hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her warm brown skin glowed under the hallway lights. She looked tired, but had the most alive eyes Ethan had ever seen, deep brown with flecks of gold that seemed to challenge the world. Delivery for Ethan Ward, she said. Clearly uncomfortable with all the eyes suddenly on her, Ethan's heart did an unexpected flip. He pointed at her and announced to the crowd, There she is, everyone. Just as I promised. The woman's eyebrows shot up. Excuse me? My future wife, Ethan said with a grin. The delivery woman's confused expression quickly turned to annoyance. Look, I just need a signature on this form so I can finish my shift. Of course, Ethan said, taking the electronic pad from her. As he signed, he added, But I'm serious about what I just said. She looked past him at the crowd of wealthy partygoers, all staring at her like she was some kind of exotic animal in a zoo. Is this some kind of rich people joke? Because I don't have time for it. Not a joke, Ethan said. I just made a vow to marry the next woman who walked through my door. And here you are. She rolled her eyes and took back the signature pad. "Here's your package, Mr. Ward. Have a nice night." She turned to leave, but Ethan followed her into the hallway, leaving his stunned guests behind. "Wait," he called. "What's your name, at least?" She stopped at the elevator and pressed the button before turning to face him. "Why does it matter?" "Because I'd like to know the name of the woman I'm going to marry," he said with a smirk. "You're either drunk or crazy," she said. "Probably both." The elevator dinged and the doors slid open. She stepped inside. "Just your name," Ethan said, holding the door open. "Please," she sighed. "Maya, my name is Maya. Now please let go of the elevator." "Maya," he repeated, liking how it sounded. "I'm Ethan." "I know who you are, Mr. Ward. It's on the delivery form." The doors began to close, and she added, "Get some sleep. You'll forget all about this in the morning." As the elevator doors shut, Ethan stood in the hallway, still feeling the strange flutter in his chest. Maya. The name echoed in his mind. He returned to his party, but his thoughts remained with the delivery girl. For the first time that night, he was smiling for real. The next morning, Ethan woke with a mild headache but a clear memory of everything that had happened. He hadn't been that drunk, just angry enough to do something dramatic. And now, in the clear light of day, he couldn't stop thinking about Maya's challenging eyes and the way she'd seen right through his games. His mother, Clara Ward, arrived promptly at 10 for their weekly brunch. She swept into his penthouse in a cloud of expensive perfume, her silver-streaked hair perfectly styled. "Darling," she said, kissing the air near his cheek. "Happy belated birthday. I'm sorry I couldn't make it to your party." "It's fine, Mother," Ethan said, pouring her a cup of coffee. "You didn't miss much." "That's not what I heard," Clara said, raising a perfectly shaped eyebrow. "James called me this morning. He said you made quite a scene." Ethan smiled. News traveled fast in their social circle. "I guess I did. He said something about you promising to marry some delivery girl." Clara's voice dripped with disapproval. "Tell me that was just the alcohol talking." Ethan sat down across from her, suddenly feeling defensive. "Her name is Maya." Clara's eyes widened. "You can't be serious, Ethan. This is exactly the kind of impulsive behavior that makes people question your judgment. How do you expect to be taken seriously as a businessman when you make ridiculous vows at your own birthday party?" "Maybe I'm tired of being taken seriously," Ethan replied. "Maybe I'm tired of everything being about business and money and appearances." Clara sighed and stirred her coffee. "Darling, you know I only want what's best for you. Our family has a reputation to maintain. You can't just marry some random girl who delivers packages." "Why not?" Ethan asked. "She seemed more real than anyone at that party." "You spoke to her for what, 2 minutes?" "You know nothing about this girl. For all you know, she could be after your money just like all the others." Ethan shook his head. "She didn't even want to tell me her name." "Trust me, she's not interested in my money." "That could be an act," Clara warned. "The uninterested ones are often the cleverest gold diggers of all." "You don't even know her," Ethan said, his voice rising. "Neither do you," Clara shot back. They finished brunch in tense silence. After Clara left, Ethan sat alone thinking about Maya. His mother was right about one thing: he didn't know her, but something about her had gotten under his skin. He went to his computer and searched for the delivery company logo he'd seen on her uniform. Within minutes, he had the company name and address. It wasn't much, but it was a start. The next day, Ethan pulled up outside a modest warehouse building with Swift Delivery Services painted on the side. He sat in his car for a moment, wondering if he'd lost his mind. Here he was, a grown man with a multi-million-dollar tech company, stalking a delivery girl because of a drunken vow. But it wasn't just the vow driving him. It was the way Maya had looked at him, not impressed by his wealth, not intimidated by his status, just seeing him as another customer on her route. He grabbed the bouquet of flowers from the passenger seat and walked into the building. The reception area was small and plain, with a counter and a door leading to the warehouse. A middle-aged woman looked up from a computer. "Can I help you?" she asked. "I'm looking for Maya," Ethan said. "She made a delivery to my apartment yesterday." The woman raised her eyebrows. "Are you reporting a problem with your delivery?" "No, not at all. I just wanted to thank her personally." The receptionist looked skeptical but picked up a phone. "Maya, there's someone here to see you," she said. "A customer." A few minutes later, the door opened and Maya appeared. She wore the same blue uniform, but today her curly hair fell loose around her shoulders. When she saw Ethan, her eyes widened in surprise, then narrowed. "What are you doing here?" she asked. Ethan held out the flowers. "I wanted to apologize for last night. I was rude. Maya didn't take the flowers. How did you find me?" "Your uniform logo," Ethan explained. "Look, I just wanted to say sorry and maybe buy you a coffee to make up for it." A young woman with short pink hair popped her head around the door. "Maya, who's this?" she asked, eyeing Ethan with interest. "Nobody," Maya said quickly. "Just a customer. With flowers?" The pink-haired woman stepped fully into view. "Hi, I'm Tina, Maya's friend and co-worker." "And you are—" "Ethan Ward," he replied with a smile. Tina's mouth fell open. "Wait, the Ethan Ward?" "The tech millionaire." She turned to Maya. "You didn't tell me your delivery was to Ethan Ward's place." "Because it wasn't important," Maya said, glaring at her friend. "Well, I think it's important that he's here with flowers," Tina said with a grin. She took Maya's arm and pulled her aside, whispering loudly enough for Ethan to hear. "What if he's not joking? He's gorgeous and rich." Maya rolled her eyes and turned back to Ethan. "I have deliveries to make." "Just 10 minutes," Ethan said. "For coffee." "The cafe across the street. Then I'll leave you alone if that's what you want." Maya looked at him for a long moment, then at Tina, who was nodding enthusiastically behind her. 10 minutes, Maya finally agreed. "Let me tell my boss I'm taking a short break." 5 minutes later, they sat across from each other in a small cafe. Maya had reluctantly accepted the flowers but left them at the office. "So," Maya said, stirring her coffee, "are you still planning to marry me, or was that just rich boy theater?" Ethan laughed. "You don't pull any punches, do you?" "I don't have time for games, Mr. Ward." "Ethan, please." He took a sip of his coffee. "And I admit the marriage proposal was dramatic. I was angry at my so-called friends and wanted to shake things up." "Mission accomplished," Maya said dryly. "But meeting you wasn't part of the plan," Ethan continued. "And I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since." Maya's expression softened slightly. "Look, I'm sure you're used to women falling at your feet when you say things like that." "Actually, no," Ethan interrupted. "I'm used to women pretending to like me because of my bank account. I'm used to calculating every relationship, wondering if they see me or just dollar signs." "Poor little rich boy," Maya said, but there was less bite in her tone. "What about you?" Ethan asked. "What's your story, Maya?" "Brooks," she supplied. "Maya Brooks. And there's not much to tell. I work deliveries to pay the bills while I finish my online degree in education. I want to teach elementary school eventually." "That's impressive," Ethan said genuinely. "Working full-time and studying," Maya shrugged. "It's what most people do. We can't all inherit tech companies." "I didn't inherit it," Ethan said quietly. "I built it from nothing. Started coding in my dorm room, lived on ramen for 2 years while I developed the software." "Oh," Maya said, looking slightly embarrassed. "I just assumed that I was born with a silver spoon." "A lot of people do," Ethan smiled. "Though I won't lie, my family had money. My mother made sure I had the best schools, the best opportunities." "Speaking of mothers," Maya said, "I bet yours would have a heart attack if you brought home a delivery girl." Ethan's face must have shown something, because Maya laughed. "That's what I thought," she said. Across the cafe, Clara Ward sat at a corner table, watching them with narrowed eyes. She had followed Ethan, concerned about his behavior. Now seeing him laugh with this ordinary girl in her work uniform, Clara's lips pressed into a thin line of disapproval. "Your 10 minutes are up," Maya said, checking her watch. "Can I see you again?" Ethan asked. Maya stood up. "Why?" "Because talking to you is the most honest conversation I've had in years." She hesitated. "I don't think it's a good idea." "One real date," Ethan pressed. "Dinner, maybe?" "I have to get back to work," Maya said, avoiding the question. "Thanks for the coffee." Ethan watched her leave, feeling both disappointed and determined. For the first time in a long time, he'd met someone who made him feel something real. That evening, Clara stormed into Ethan's office at his company headquarters. "I saw you today," she said without preamble. "With that delivery girl." Ethan looked up from his computer. "You were following me?" "I was concerned," Clara said. "And rightfully so." "Ethan, what are you thinking? Do you have any idea how this looks?" "I don't care how it looks," Ethan replied, turning back to his screen. "Well, you should. The board members are already questioning your focus lately. If they think you're distracted by some gold digging..." Don't call her that, Ethan snapped, his voice sharp enough to make Clara step back. Her name is Maya, and she's more authentic than anyone in our social circle. You don't know anything about her, Clara insisted. These girls from nothing see men like you as lottery tickets, Ethan. They pretend to be different, to not care about money, but it's all an act. You're wrong about her. Am I? Then why did she agree to coffee? Why did she take your flowers? She's playing hard to get, because she knows it will hook you deeper. Ethan stood up. Mother, I appreciate your concern, but my personal life is my business. Clara's face softened. Darling, I only want to protect you. You've worked so hard. Don't throw it all away on a pretty face with a sad story. After she left, Ethan sat in silence for a long time. His mother's words echoed in his head, planting seeds of doubt. Was Maya different, or was she playing him? He didn't know her well enough to be sure. Still, something in his gut told him to try. He pulled out his phone and sent a text. Maya, it's Ethan. I'd like one real date. Dinner this weekend. No strings, no marriage proposals, just a chance to know each other better. Maya was folding laundry in her small apartment when her phone chimed. Seeing Ethan's message, she groaned and flopped onto her second-hand couch. What's wrong? Asked Tina, who was sprawled on the other end watching TV. Maya showed her the phone. Rich boy won't give up. And this is a problem. Why? Tina asked. He's gorgeous, successful, and clearly into you. He's also from a completely different world, Maya pointed out. Guys like him don't date girls like me for real. Maybe he's different, Tina suggested. The front door opened, and Daniel Brooks walked in, still wearing his mechanic's uniform with Danny stitched on the pocket. At 27, he looked like an older male version of Maya with the same warm brown skin and expressive eyes. Who's different? Daniel asked, dropping his keys on the counter. No one, Maya said quickly. The millionaire who's asking Maya out, Tina answered at the same time. Daniel's eyebrows shot up. What millionaire? Maya sighed. It's nothing. Just some rich guy whose package I delivered. He showed up at work today. Showed up at your work. Daniel's protective big brother instincts kicked in. That sounds like stalking to me. It's not stalking, Tina argued. It's romantic. He brought flowers and everything. Daniel sat down in the armchair across from them. Maya, you need to be careful. Rich guys like that. They think they can buy anyone and anything. They don't take no for an answer. I know, Maya said. I'm not stupid. I didn't say you were, Daniel replied. But guys like that, they can hurt you. Maya knew he was thinking about their mother, who had fallen for a wealthy married man years ago. He had made big promises, then disappeared when she got pregnant with Daniel. History had nearly repeated itself with Maya's father, who had stuck around just long enough for Maya to be born, before deciding family life wasn't for him. Maybe you should go out with him once, Tina suggested. Just to see if he's for real. You can always walk away. Or he could just be curious about dating a black girl, Daniel said bluntly. You know how some of these rich white boys are. They want to experience dating outside their race. Then it's back to their country club girlfriends. Daniel! Maya protested. I'm just saying be careful, he insisted. Make sure his interest is genuine. Maya looked at her phone again, reading Ethan's message. Maybe one dinner wouldn't hurt. She could test him, see if there was any substance behind the charm and money. One dinner, she texted back. That's all. In his penthouse across town, Ethan smiled when he saw her response. It was a start. Maya stood in front of her closet, pushing hangers back and forth. Nothing seemed right for a date with a millionaire. Everything she owned looked too casual or too worn. Wear the blue dress, Tina said, sprawled across Maya's bed. It makes your eyes pop. It's too fancy for a normal date, but probably too plain for where he's taking me, Maya sighed. I don't even know why I agreed to this. Tina sat up. Because you're curious, and because he's hot, Maya threw a pillow at her friend. I'm not that shallow. Girl, it's okay to admit a cute rich guy is interested in you, Tina laughed. But seriously, the blue dress. Trust me. An hour later, Maya stood in front of her apartment building, wearing the blue dress that hugged her curves just right. Her normally wild curls were tamed into soft waves that framed her face. She had kept her makeup simple, just mascara and lip gloss, but had splurged on the fancy perfume Tina had given her for Christmas. A sleek black car pulled up to the curb. Maya expected a driver to step out, but instead Ethan himself emerged from behind the wheel. He wore dark jeans and a crisp white button-down shirt, with the sleeves rolled up. No flashy watch, no designer labels on display. He looked almost normal. "Wow," Ethan said, staring at her. "You look beautiful." Maya felt her cheeks warm. "Thanks. You clean up nice too." "I hope you like Italian food," Ethan said, opening the passenger door for her. "There's this small place I know. Best pasta in the city." Maya had expected him to take her to some exclusive five-star restaurant where she'd feel out of place. "Small sounds perfect," she said, sliding into the car. The restaurant was indeed small, a cozy bistro with checkered tablecloths and candles in wine bottles. The owner, an older man with a thick Italian accent, greeted Ethan by name and led them to a corner table. "You come here often?" Maya asked, surprised that Ethan would frequent such a modest place. "It's my favorite restaurant in the city," Ethan replied. "My dad used to bring me here when I was a kid. Before he got sick." The simple personal detail caught Maya off guard. She hadn't expected him to share something so genuine so quickly. "I'm sorry about your dad," she said softly. Ethan shrugged, but she could see the old pain in his eyes. "He died when I was 15, cancer. He was a good man, worked hard, built his business from scratch. My mother never quite got over losing him." "That must have been tough," Maya said, thinking of her own absent father. At least she'd never known him well enough to miss him. It was, Ethan admitted. "But enough about sad things. Tell me about yourself, Maya Brooks. What makes you smile?" Over plates of handmade pasta and glasses of wine, they talked. Really talked. Maya told him about her dreams of becoming a teacher, about growing up with just her mom and brother, about the joy she found in simple pleasures like rainy Sundays with a good book. Ethan listened in a way that made her feel truly heard. He asked questions that showed he cared about her answers. And he made her laugh with stories about his coding disasters and business blunders. "I can't believe you showed up to a major investor, meeting with your shirt inside out." Maya giggled. "I'd been coding for 36 hours straight." Ethan defended himself with a smile. "I was lucky I remembered pants." As they shared tiramisu for dessert, Maya realized she was having fun, real fun, not the nervous, on-edge feeling she usually had on first dates. There was something about Ethan that felt right. When they left the restaurant, the cool night air brushed against Maya's skin. Ethan placed his jacket around her shoulders without asking, and the simple gesture made her heart flutter. A sudden flash caught them by surprise. Then another. Maya blinked against the bright lights as two men with cameras approached. "Ethan, who's your date? Is this serious or just a fling?" One of them called out. "Is this the delivery girl from your party?" shouted the other. "Are you really keeping that crazy marriage vow?" Ethan stepped in front of Maya, shielding her from the cameras. "Back off," he said, his voice hard. "This is private." He guided Maya quickly to his car, his hand protective on the small of her back. Once inside, he turned to her with worried eyes. "I'm so sorry about that," he said. "I should have known they might be watching." Maya's heart was pounding. "Who were they?" "Paparazzi," Ethan explained. "They follow newsworthy people for gossip blogs and magazines." "My stupid birthday vow must have leaked to the press." Maya's stomach knotted. "So our picture will be online?" "Probably," Ethan admitted. "But I promise I'll do everything I can to protect your privacy. If they publish anything, my lawyers can have it taken down." Maya looked out the window, suddenly feeling the vast gap between their worlds. In her life, privacy was a given. In his, it was something lawyers had to fight for. "Maybe this was a mistake," she said quietly. Ethan reached for her hand. "Please don't say that. Tonight was the most real date I've had in years." His touch was warm, his eyes sincere. Despite her better judgment, Maya believed him. "Let me take you home," Ethan said. "And if you'll give me another chance, I promise we'll go somewhere more private next time." Maya hesitated, then nodded. Okay, the next morning, Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Tina. "You're famous," with a link attached. Heart sinking, Maya clicked the link. A gossip website showed a photo of her and Ethan leaving the restaurant. The headline read, "Tech Millionaire's Mystery Girl, is Ethan Ward's delivery woman the one?" The article beneath was full of speculation and thinly veiled insults. Sources say Ward met the unidentified woman when she delivered a package to his birthday party, where he drunkenly vowed to marry her. Is this a real romance or just a rich man's whim? The woman, clearly from a different social circle than Ward's usual models and socialites, seems an unlikely match for the tech genius worth an estimated $500 million. Maya threw her phone down. as if it had burned her. This was exactly what she'd feared, being reduced to the delivery woman, having her worth questioned because she wasn't rich or famous. Her phone rang. "Ethan, have you seen it?" He asked as soon as she answered. "Yes," Maya said, her voice tight. "I'm so sorry, Maya. My lawyers are already on it. They'll have it taken down within hours." "It doesn't matter," Maya said. "The damage is done. People have seen it. Your fancy friends are probably laughing about it right now." "I don't care what they think," Ethan insisted. "Easy for you to say. You're not the one being called an unlikely match, because you deliver packages for a living." There was silence on the line. Then Ethan asked quietly, "Do you want to stop seeing me?" The question hung in the air. Maya closed her eyes. The smart answer was yes. This world of his was too complicated, too exposing, but something held her back from saying it. "I don't know," she finally answered. "Let me make it up to you," Ethan said. "No restaurants, no public places. Just a walk in the park. No one will bother us there." Maya thought about saying no, about cutting her losses and going back to her simple, private life. But then she remembered the way he'd looked at her across the dinner table, like she was the only person in the world who mattered. "Okay," she said. "One more chance." The next day they met at a quiet corner of the city park. Ethan wore a baseball cap, pulled low over his eyes, and casual clothes that helped him blend in. They walked side by side, not touching but close enough to feel each other's presence. They bought hot dogs from a street vendor and sat on a bench by the duck pond. Ethan got mustard on his chin, and Maya laughed as she wiped it away with a napkin. For a few hours they were just a normal couple enjoying a sunny afternoon. "I've never had a street hot dog before," Ethan admitted. Maya stared at him in disbelief. "Seriously? They're a city staple. My mother would never have allowed it," Ethan said. "Too common, too many questionable ingredients. Well, verdict?" Maya asked, watching him take another bite. Ethan's face broke into a genuine smile. "It's amazing. What other street food have I been missing?" They spent the afternoon trying pretzels, roasted nuts, and ice cream from various carts. With each new treat, Ethan's eyes lit up like a child discovering Christmas for the first time. "You know," Maya said as they walked along a tree-lined path, "for a rich guy, you sure get excited about $3 snacks." Ethan laughed. "Maybe because they're honest. What you see is what you get. No fancy presentation hiding mediocre food, no inflated prices for the experience. Is that how you see your world?" "Dishonest?" Maya asked. Ethan was quiet for a moment. "Not dishonest, exactly. Just as performative, everyone playing a part. The successful businessman, the perfect socialite, the wise investor. Sometimes I feel like I'm the only one who sees it's all just a show." "And what part do you play?" Maya asked softly. "The genius tech founder," Ethan said with a wry smile. "Cool under pressure, always in control, never showing weakness. And who are you really?" Ethan stopped walking and turned to face her. The setting sun painted his face in warm golden light, making his blue eyes seem deeper, more vulnerable. "I'm just a guy who's tired of pretending," he said. "A guy who met an amazing woman who sees right through him and who scares him a little because of it." His honesty took Maya's breath away. Before she could respond, Ethan's face suddenly tensed with emotion. "I don't want this to end," he blurted out, the words seeming to surprise even him. Maya stood frozen, not knowing how to respond to such naked feeling. The next evening, Maya was cooking dinner in her apartment when there was a knock at the door. She opened it to find Ethan standing there, looking nervous. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" she asked, surprised. Before he could answer, Daniel appeared behind her. "Who is it, Maya?" His eyes widened when he saw Ethan. "You must be the millionaire." Ethan held out his hand. "Ethan Ward. You must be Daniel, Maya's brother." Daniel ignored the outstretched hand. "That's right. The protective big brother who wants to know exactly what your intentions are with my sister." "Daniel," Maya protested. "He's just a friend. Can I come in?" Ethan asked. "I'd be happy to talk." Maya hesitated, then stepped aside. Having Ethan in their modest apartment made her uncomfortable. The second-hand furniture, the patched curtains, the tiny kitchen, it all highlighted the differences in their lives, but Ethan didn't seem to notice or care. He sat on the worn couch when invited, accepted the glass of water Maya offered, and met Daniel's suspicious gaze directly. "I understand your concern," Ethan said to Daniel. If I had a sister and some guy from a different world started showing up, I'd be worried too. Daniel crossed his arms. Different world is right. What could you possibly want with Maya? Is she some kind of charity case? Or maybe a walk on the wild side before you settle down with someone from your tax bracket? Daniel! Maya snapped. That's enough. No, it's a fair question, Ethan said calmly. The truth is, Maya is the most real person I've met in years. She doesn't care about my money or my status. She calls me on my nonsense and makes me want to be better. He looked at Maya, and when I'm with her, I don't feel alone. The simple confession hung in the air. Daniel's stern expression softened slightly. And what happens when you get bored? Daniel asked, but with less hostility. Or when your fancy mother decides Maya isn't good enough for her precious son? I can't control my mother, Ethan admitted, but I can control my own choices. And I choose to see where this goes with Maya. He turned to her. If she'll let me. Maya, standing in the doorway to the kitchen, felt her heart twist at the sincerity in Ethan's voice. She hadn't heard him come in, hadn't known he was listening. I should go, Ethan said, standing up. I just wanted to bring you this. He handed Maya a small paper bag. It's that hot chocolate you liked from the park yesterday. I thought you might want some. Later, the simple thoughtfulness of the gesture nearly undid Maya. It wasn't an expensive gift meant to impress. It was a small kindness that showed he'd been paying attention. Thanks, she said softly. When Ethan left, Daniel watched Maya carefully. You're falling for him, aren't you? Maya didn't answer, but her silence said everything. 2 days later, Ethan invited Maya to his company's rooftop garden. It's private, he assured her. Just employee access. No press, no paparazzi. The garden was beautiful, a green oasis high above the busy streets with flower beds, small trees in planters, and twinkling lights strung overhead. As the sun set, the city lights began to sparkle all around them like earthbound stars. They sat on a wooden bench, shoulders almost touching. Maya shivered slightly in the cool evening air, and Ethan wrapped a soft blanket around her shoulders. Your company has its own garden? Maya asked, looking around at the well-tended plants. It was one of my first projects after we moved into this building, Ethan explained. I wanted a place where employees could escape the computers and screens for a while. Somewhere peaceful. It's beautiful, Maya admitted. Maya, Ethan said, his voice suddenly serious, there's something I need to tell you. Her heart skipped a beat. Here it comes, she thought. The part where he says this was fun, but we're too different. I think I'm falling in love with you, Ethan said instead. The words hit Maya like a physical force. No one had ever said that to her before, not in a way that felt true. You can't be, she whispered. Why not? Ethan asked. Because we barely know each other. Because we come from completely different worlds. Because people like you don't fall in love with people like me. What kind of people are we? Ethan asked gently. You know what I mean, Maya said. You're rich, white, privileged. I'm a black girl from the wrong side of town who delivers packages and lives paycheck to paycheck. In what universe does that work out? In the universe where none of that matters, Ethan said. In the universe where I see you, Maya Brooks. Your kindness, your strength, your honesty, and that's all I care about. He leaned closer, his hand coming up to cup her cheek. Maya's heart pounded as his lips met hers in a soft, questioning kiss. For a moment she let herself believe, let the walls around her heart come down. The kiss deepened, became something warm and real and powerful. Maya felt herself melting into it, into him, into the possibility of them. But then reality crashed back. She pulled away abruptly. I can't do this, she whispered, standing up. Maya, please, I can't fall for you, she said, her voice breaking. It would hurt too much when it ends. She turned and hurried toward the elevator, leaving Ethan standing alone among the twinkling lights. For a week, Maya ignored Ethan's calls and texts. She threw herself into work, taking extra shifts to avoid thinking about him. But every package she delivered reminded her of how they'd met, and every night she dreamed of their kiss under the city lights. Tina watched her with worried eyes. You're miserable, she said finally. Why not just talk to him? Because it won't work, Maya insisted. We're too different. Maybe those differences are exactly what make you perfect for each other, Tina suggested. Before Maya could argue, her phone rang. Ethan again. This time she answered. Maya, his voice sounded tired, relieved. Thank you for picking up. What do you want, Ethan? One more chance, he said. I have a small villa in the countryside, about 2 hours from the city. No press, no paparazzi, no family interference. Just a quiet place where we could talk without the world watching. Just for the weekend. I can't just go away with you, Maya protested. Separate rooms, Ethan promised. No pressure. Just a chance to figure this out away from everything else. Maya closed her eyes. She should say no. She knew she should. But the thought of seeing him again made her heart race. I'll think about it, she said finally. That's all I ask, Ethan replied, hope in his voice. After she hung up, Tina raised her eyebrows. A private villa in the countryside. Girl, you'd better pack that sexy nightgown I got you for your birthday. Maya threw a pillow at her, but she was smiling for the first time in days. 2 days later, Maya sat in the passenger seat of Ethan's car, watching the city disappear behind them as they drove into greener landscapes. Fields and forests replaced buildings and billboards. The knot of tension in her chest began to loosen with each mile. Almost there, Ethan said, turning onto a narrow country road lined with tall trees. When the villa came into view, Maya gasped. She had pictured something grand and imposing, but this was a charming stone cottage, with ivy climbing the walls and a garden bursting with colorful flowers. This is your idea of a villa? She asked. Ethan smiled sheepishly. It's what my mother calls it. I just call it my hideaway. Do you like it? It's perfect, Maya said honestly. Inside, the cottage was cozy and warm with comfortable furniture, bookshelves lining the walls, and large windows that let in streams of golden sunlight. It felt lived in, personal in a way Maya hadn't expected. I come here to work sometimes, Ethan explained, as he showed her around. When I need to code without interruptions, or just when the city gets too loud. He showed Maya to her room, a lovely space with a 4-poster bed and its own bathroom. My room is down the hall, he said. As promised, your space is your own. That evening they cooked dinner together in the cottage's kitchen. Ethan proved surprisingly skilled with a knife, chopping vegetables while Maya seasoned chicken. Where did a rich boy learn to cook? Maya teased. Food Network, Ethan admitted with a laugh. During college, I got tired of takeout. Turns out cooking is just following instructions, which I'm pretty good at. They ate at a small table by the window, with candles providing soft light as darkness fell outside. The simple meal tasted better than any restaurant food. After dinner, they sat by the fireplace with glasses of wine, talking about everything and nothing, favorite books, childhood memories, dreams for the future. Without the pressure of the city, the paparazzi, or their different worlds hanging over them, conversation flowed easily. Can I ask you something personal? Ethan said after a comfortable silence. Maya nodded. You seem so afraid to trust this, to trust us. Is it just because of our different backgrounds, or is there more? Maya stared into the flames for a long moment. I was engaged once, she finally said. 3 years ago. His name was Kevin. He wasn't rich like you, but he had a good job, came from a nice family. I thought he loved me. Ethan waited silently for her to continue. One day I surprised him at his apartment, Maya went on, her voice flat. Found him in bed with another woman. When I confronted him, he said he had never planned to marry me. He said I was fun, but not the kind of woman you bring home to mother. Said his parents expected him to marry someone different, someone white, Ethan said quietly. Maya nodded. He'd been using me all along. 2 years of my life wasted on a man who saw me as good enough to sleep with, but not good enough to marry. Ethan reached for her hand. I'm not him, Maya. She looked up, tears shining in her eyes. I know. But how do I know your mother won't say the same things? How do I know you won't eventually listen? Ethan squeezed her hand. Because I've spent my whole life trying to please other people. My father by taking over his business. My mother by being the perfect son. Society by playing the role of the successful entrepreneur. I'm tired of living for everyone else. He lifted her hand to his lips. I want to live for me now. And Maya, when I'm with you, I feel alive. The simple truth of his words washed over her. Maya looked at this man, this kind, genuine man who had everything the world could offer, but still looked at her like she was the greatest treasure. I'm scared, she admitted. So am I, Ethan said. But I think you're worth the fear. Later that night, as a storm rolled in from the mountains, they lay curled together on the sofa, Maya's head on Ethan's chest. The fire crackled, rain pattered against the windows, and for the first time in years, Maya felt completely at peace. They fell asleep like that, wrapped in each other's arms. Two people from different worlds finding shelter in each other. What they didn't know was that back in the city, Clara Ward was making a phone call. "He's taken her to the cottage," she told her friend. "This phase is lasting longer than I expected. But don't worry. Ethan will wake up eventually. No one throws away a future for a delivery girl." Maya woke early the next morning, sunlight streaming through the cottage windows. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then she remembered. The countryside, the cottage, Ethan. She smiled, stretching lazily. They had fallen asleep on the couch, but Ethan must have carried her to bed at some point. The thought made her heart flutter. Last night had been perfect. Cooking together, talking by the fire, sharing fears and hopes. For the first time, Maya let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, this impossible thing between them could work. She slipped out of bed and pulled on her robe. The cottage was quiet. Ethan was probably still sleeping. Maya decided to make coffee, a small thank you for his hospitality. As she padded down the hallway toward the kitchen, she heard a voice. "Ethan's?" "No," a woman's voice coming from the small study off the main room. The door was slightly ajar. "Of course I'm concerned, Helen," the voice said. "He's brought her to the cottage." His father's cottage? Maya froze. It was Clara, Ethan's mother. What was she doing here? "No, I haven't met her officially," Clara continued, her voice dripping with disdain. "But I've seen them together. She's pretty enough, I suppose, in a common way. But completely unsuitable. A delivery girl, for heaven's sake!" Maya knew she should walk away, but her feet wouldn't move. "Don't worry, Helen. Ethan will wake up from this phase. He always does. Remember that artist he dated in college? Or that social worker last year? He has these little rebellions, then comes to his senses." Maya's stomach twisted into a painful knot. A phase, a rebellion. Was that all she was to Ethan? "The board meeting is next week," Clara went on. "I've invited Sophia Winters to attend. Her father owns half the tech companies in the country, and she's just back from Europe. Much more suitable for Ethan." Maya stepped back from the door, her heart hammering. She had been a fool. A complete fool to think someone like Ethan could really choose someone like her. Quietly, she returned to her room and packed her small overnight bag. She scribbled a note, "Had to go. Thank you for everything," and left it on the bed. Then she called a rideshare, grateful that even in the countryside she could get a car. 20 minutes later, she slipped out the back door, tears blurring her vision, as she walked down the gravel path away from the cottage. Away from Ethan, Ethan woke to the sound of a car driving away. He blinked sleepily, confused by the noise. Who would be driving up to the cottage this early? He got up and looked out the window just in time to see a car disappearing down the lane. That was odd. Stretching, he decided to check on Maya. Maybe she'd like breakfast in bed. He made pretty good pancakes. But Maya's room was empty. The bed was neatly made, and a folded piece of paper lay on the pillow. Ethan's heart sank as he read her brief note. "Maya?" he called, running through the cottage. "Maya!" No answer. Why would she leave without saying goodbye? Last night had been perfect. They had connected, really connected. She had opened up to him, and he had been more honest with her than with anyone in years. He tried calling her cell phone, but it went straight to voicemail. "Maya, it's me. What happened? Please call me back, please." Ethan paced the cottage, trying to make sense of Maya's sudden departure. Had he said something wrong? Done something to upset her? Everything had seemed so right between them. Then he heard movement in the study. "Maya?" he called hopefully, rushing to the door, but it was his mother who looked up from the desk. "Mother? What are you doing here?" Clara smiled. "Surprise, darling. I thought I'd join you for the weekend. The city is so stuffy this time of year." Ethan stared at her in disbelief. "How did you know I was here?" "You always come to the cottage when you need to think," Clara said dismissively. "Now where's this girl you've been seeing? I think it's time we were properly introduced." Ethan's blood ran cold. "She's gone," he said flatly. "Did you speak to her? What did you say?" Clara's face became a mask of innocence. "I haven't said a word to her. I only arrived an hour ago. Perhaps she simply came to her senses and realized this little adventure was inappropriate." "This isn't an adventure, Mother. And there was nothing inappropriate about it. I care about Maya. The truth hit him suddenly with the force of absolute clarity. I love her. Clara's eyes narrowed. Don't be ridiculous, Ethan. You barely know her. She's completely wrong for you, for us, for the family name. I don't care about the family name, Ethan snapped. I care about her. She's a delivery girl, Clara exclaimed. What could you possibly have in common? What kind of future could you build with someone like that? A happy one, Ethan said simply. He grabbed his keys and headed for the door. He had to find Maya, had to explain. What? He didn't even know what had happened, why she'd left. Where are you going? Clara demanded. Back to the city, to find Maya. Ethan, you're not thinking clearly. The board meeting is next week. Sophia Winters will be there. Her father... I don't care about Sophia Winters or her father, Ethan interrupted. The only person I care about just disappeared from my life, and I need to find out why. He left his mother standing in the cottage, her protests fading behind him as he drove away, back toward the city. Back toward Maya. Maya sat at her desk at Swift Delivery, mindlessly sorting packages. It had been 3 days since she'd fled the cottage. 3 days of ignoring Ethan's calls and texts. 3 days of trying to convince herself she'd done the right thing. You look terrible, Tina said, plopping down in the chair beside her desk. Thanks, Maya replied dryly. Seriously, you've got to talk to me, Tina pressed. You come back from a romantic weekend early. You won't answer your phone. You've been walking around like a zombie. What happened? Maya sighed. I overheard his mother on the phone. She called me a phase, said Ethan would wake up and come to his senses. So? That's his mother, not him. She was at the cottage, Tina, his private getaway. The place that was supposed to be just for us. How did she even know we were there unless he told her? Tina frowned. Did you ask him about it? What's the point? His mother made it clear they have plans for him. Board meetings, suitable girlfriends from wealthy families. I was just a temporary distraction. Maya's voice cracked. A rebellion. But what if you weren't? Tina asked gently. What if he really cares about you? It doesn't matter, Maya said, standing up. People like us don't end up with people like him. That's just how the world works. She grabbed a stack of delivery forms and walked away, before Tina could see the tears welling in her eyes. Ethan sat in his car outside Swift Delivery Services, watching the door. He had been there for hours, hoping to catch Maya arriving or leaving. But either she wasn't working today, or she was avoiding him completely. His phone buzzed with another text from his mother. Board meeting tomorrow. Don't be late. He ignored it. He had ignored all her messages since the cottage. Right now, the company, the board, his responsibilities, none of it mattered. Only Maya mattered. Just as he was about to give up for the day, Ethan spotted a familiar face leaving the building. Not Maya, but her friend Tina with the pink hair. He jumped out of his car and ran across the street. Tina, he called. She turned, surprised, then her expression hardened. What are you doing here, rich boy? I need to see Maya, Ethan said desperately. She won't answer my calls. She left without saying goodbye. I need to know why. Tina crossed her arms. Maybe because she heard your mom talking about her like she was trash. Ethan's face fell. What? Your mother was at the cottage, Tina explained. Maya overheard her on the phone, talking about how Maya was just a phase you were going through. How you'd wake up and come back to your senses. No, Ethan groaned, running a hand through his hair. My mother showed up uninvited. I had no idea she was coming. Maya must have heard her before I even woke up. Tina studied his face. You really didn't know? Of course not. I would never do that to Maya. That weekend was supposed to be just us, away from everything, especially my mother's interference. Ethan's voice broke. Please, Tina, I need to talk to her. She's at her apartment, Tina said after a long pause. But her brother's there too, and he's not exactly your biggest fan right now. I don't care, Ethan said. I'll face an army if it means I get to explain to Maya. Tina's expression softened. You really care about her, don't you? More than anything, Ethan said simply. When Ethan knocked on Maya's apartment door, it was Daniel who answered. His expression darkened when he saw Ethan. You've got a lot of nerve showing up here, Daniel said, blocking the doorway. I need to see Maya, Ethan replied. She doesn't want to see you. She's hurt because of you. Please, Ethan begged. Just 5 minutes. Let me explain. There's nothing to explain, Daniel said coldly. Your mother made everything perfectly clear. Maya was just a game to you. A temporary distraction before you go back to dating women from your own world. That's not true, Ethan insisted. I love her, Daniel laughed harshly. Love? You've known her for what, a few weeks? That's not love, man. That's a rich boy's whim. Is Maya home? Ethan asked, trying to look past Daniel into the apartment. She doesn't want to see you, Daniel repeated. Go back to your mansion and your millions and leave my sister alone. The door slammed in Ethan's face. He stood there for a long moment, then slowly walked back to his car. He wasn't giving up. Not by a long shot. But he needed a new plan. Maya lay on her bed staring at the ceiling. She had heard Ethan's voice at the door, heard his plea to see her. Part of her had wanted to run to him, to let him explain. But the memory of Clara's voice, cold, dismissive, so certain that Maya was just a temporary distraction, kept her frozen in place. He's gone, Daniel said. Coming into her room. Good, Maya lied. Daniel sat on the edge of her bed. You know, for what it's worth, he seemed pretty torn up. Said he loves you. Maya's heart clenched. He doesn't even know me. That's what I told him, Daniel agreed. But what? Daniel sighed. I don't know. He seemed genuine, not like I expected a spoiled rich guy to be. Maya turned away. It doesn't matter. His world and our world, they don't mix. His mother made that clear enough. Since when do you let other people decide what you can and can't do? Daniel asked. The Maya I know fights for what she wants. Maybe I'm tired of fighting, Maya whispered, but even as she said it, she knew it wasn't true. She wasn't tired of fighting. She was scared of losing, scared of believing in Ethan, in them, only to have it all collapse when reality set in. Ethan sat in his office staring blankly at his computer screen. The board meeting was starting in 20 minutes, and he couldn't focus on anything. All he could think about was Maya, her smile, her laugh, the way she saw through his defenses to the real person underneath. His assistant knocked on the door. Mr. Ward? Your mother is here. Clara swept in, perfectly dressed in a designer suit. You're not even ready, she scolded, looking at Ethan's rumpled appearance. The board is waiting, and so is Sophia Winters. I've seated her next to your chair. I'm not going, Ethan said quietly. Don't be ridiculous, Clara snapped. This is the most important meeting of the quarter. Sophia's father is considering a major investment. Ethan stood up. I don't care about Sophia or her father's money. I care about Maya. Clara's face hardened. That delivery girl? Ethan, be reasonable. She was a distraction, a bit of fun. But it's time to focus on what really matters. Your future, the company, our family position. That's where you're wrong, Mother, Ethan said, a new strength in his voice. Maya is what really matters. And if I lose her, I lose everything that's important to me. She's nothing, Clara exclaimed. A nobody from nowhere with no connections, no education, no refinement. What could she possibly offer you? Happiness, Ethan said simply. Something I haven't felt in years until I met her. Clara's face softened slightly. Darling, I understand you're infatuated, but these feelings will pass. Someone like you needs an equal, a woman who understands our world. I'm not looking for an equal in wealth or status, Ethan replied. I'm looking for an equal in heart. And Maya has the biggest heart of anyone I've ever met. He grabbed his jacket and headed for the door. Where are you going? Clara demanded. The meeting starts in 15 minutes. Tell the board I'm sorry. Tell them I had a personal emergency. Ethan paused at the door. Actually, tell them the truth. Tell them I'm in love with a delivery girl, and I'm not going to lose her because of a meeting. He left his mother standing open-mouthed in his office, feeling lighter than he had in days. He didn't know if Maya would forgive him, didn't know if she would believe him, but he had to try. He had to fight for her. Maya was folding laundry when Tina burst into the apartment, soaking wet from the rain outside. You need to talk to him, Tina announced without preamble. Talk to who? Maya asked, though she knew perfectly well. Ethan, he came to Swift today looking for you. He had no idea his mother was at the cottage. She showed up uninvited. Maya's hands stilled on the shirt she was folding. He said that? Yes, and I believe him, Tina said, shaking water from her pink hair. You should have seen his face, Maya. He's a mess without you. It doesn't change anything, Maya said, resuming her folding. His mother still thinks I'm just a phase. She still wants him with someone suitable. So what? Are you going to let his mother decide who he can love? Love? The word hung in the air between them. He doesn't love me, Maya said quietly. He told Daniel he does, Tina pointed out. And he told me too. Seems like the only person he hasn't told is you, because you won't talk to him. Maya sank down onto the couch, the laundry forgotten. Even if he thinks he loves me now, what happens in a month, in a year? When the excitement wears off and he realizes we have nothing in common. Maybe you have everything that matters in common, Tina suggested, sitting beside her. Like how you both light up when you're together. How you both value honesty above everything. How you both want something real in a fake world. Maya felt tears welling up. I'm scared, Tina. Of course you are, Tina said gently. Love is scary, especially when it's the real thing. A knock at the door interrupted them. Tina jumped up to answer it. It's for you, she said, coming back with a strange expression on her face. Maya went to the door and gasped. Ethan stood there, soaking wet from the rain, his expensive suit ruined, his hair plastered to his head. He held no flowers, no gifts, nothing but the raw emotion on his face. Maya, he said, his voice rough. Please, just listen to me. You're soaking wet, she said stupidly. I don't care, Ethan replied. I've been standing out here for an hour, hoping you'd come home. I missed a board meeting. My mother is furious. None of that matters. All that matters is you. Maya could feel her resolve weakening. Ethan, my mother showed up uninvited, he rushed to explain. I had no idea she was coming. I would never do that to you, to us. That weekend was supposed to be just for us. I heard what she said, Maya said softly, about me being a phase. About you waking up and coming to your senses. My mother doesn't speak for me, Ethan said firmly. Yes, I made a crazy vow at my birthday party. Yes, it was reckless and stupid. But meeting you, falling in love with you, that's the most real thing that's ever happened to me. Maya's heart pounded. I don't even know me. I know enough, Ethan insisted. I know you're kind and strong and honest. I know you work harder than anyone I've ever met. I know you make me laugh, make me think, make me want to be better. He stepped closer, rain dripping from his face. And I know that when I'm with you, everything else falls away. All the noise, all the pressure, all the pretending. With you, I'm just me, and that's enough. Maya trembled, torn between the desire to believe him and the fear of being hurt again. What about your mother? She asked. What about your world and mine? Those things don't just disappear because we want them to. I can't promise it will be easy, Ethan admitted, but I can promise I'll choose you. Every time I'll choose you. Just then, Daniel appeared in the hallway behind Maya. His eyes narrowed at the sight of Ethan. What's going on here? Daniel demanded. Ethan looked past Maya to her brother. I'm in love with your sister, he said simply. And I'm asking for a chance to prove it to her. Daniel stepped forward. Prove it how? With money? Gifts? Promises you won't keep? No, Ethan replied. With the truth. I'd walk away from everything. My company, my wealth, my family name, if that's what it took to be with Maya. She's worth more to me than all of it. Daniel studied Ethan's face for a long moment, searching for any sign of dishonesty. Whatever he saw must have satisfied him, because he slowly nodded and stepped back. It's your call, Maya, Daniel said quietly. But for what it's worth, I think he means it. Maya stood frozen, her heart and mind at war. Ethan waited, rain still dripping from his clothes. Hope and fear battling in his eyes. What she saw there finally broke through her defenses. Not the cocky millionaire who had vowed to marry the next woman he saw, but a man who was just as scared as she was. A man who was willing to stand in the rain, to face her brother, to risk everything for a chance at love. I'm still afraid, she whispered. So am I, Ethan admitted, but I'm more afraid of losing you. The simple honesty of his words broke something open inside Maya. With a small sob, she stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him, not caring that his wet clothes soaked through hers. I've missed you, she whispered against his chest. Ethan's arms tightened around her, holding her as if he'd never let go. I've been lost without you. They stood like that for a long moment, holding each other while the rain continued to fall outside. It wasn't a perfect ending. There were still obstacles to face, bridges to cross. But it was a beginning, a real one. Tina watched from the doorway, smiling through tears of her own. Daniel stood beside her, his protective frown softening as he saw the genuine joy on his sister's face. Sometimes love arrived in the most unexpected packages. Sometimes the most unlikely matches were the ones that fit just right. Later that evening, curled up on Maya's couch in borrowed dry clothes, Ethan held her close and whispered, "That vow I made at my party was the best mistake of my life." Maya smiled against his shoulder. "Who says it was a mistake? Maybe it was fate. Fate or foolishness, I'm grateful," Ethan said, pressing a kiss to her forehead, "because it brought me you." Outside, the rain had stopped, and a soft moon rose over the city, casting silver light through the window. Two worlds had collided, and something beautiful had emerged from the chaos, something worth fighting for, worth believing in, something like love. The next morning, Maya woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of quiet laughter. She padded into the kitchen to find Ethan and Daniel sitting at the small table, talking like old friends. "Morning, sleepyhead," Daniel said, sliding a mug of coffee toward her. "We were just getting to know each other," Ethan explained with a smile. Maya looked between them, surprised. "And no blood was shed?" Daniel grinned. "Not yet, but the day is young." The easy teasing made Maya's heart warm. She hadn't expected Daniel to accept Ethan so quickly, but something had changed since last night, a new understanding between the two most important men in her life. "I have to get to work," Daniel said, standing up. He pointed a finger at Ethan. "You hurt her, they'll never find your body." Ethan nodded seriously. "Understood." After Daniel left, Maya slipped into his empty chair. "What did you say to him?" "The truth," Ethan replied, taking her hand. "That I love you and want to make you happy." "And he believed you?" "Just like that." Ethan smiled. "Well, there might have been a lengthy interrogation first. Your brother is very thorough." Maya laughed, then grew serious. "Ethan, what happens now? With us, I mean?" "Whatever we want," Ethan said. "But first I need to deal with my mother. She's been calling non-stop since I missed the board meeting." Maya's smile faded. "She'll never accept me." "She doesn't have to," Ethan said firmly. "I'm a grown man who makes his own choices. And I choose you." The words were simple, but they filled Maya with a bravery she hadn't felt before. Maybe they could make this work after all. Clara Ward's penthouse was a study in elegance, all pristine whites, gleaming surfaces and priceless art. Maya felt out of place the moment she stepped through the door. Conscious of her simple dress and scuffed shoes, Ethan squeezed her hand reassuringly. "Ready?" Maya nodded, though her stomach was tied in knots. Meeting Ethan's mother officially was terrifying. But Ethan had insisted they face her together. Clara rose from a white leather sofa as they entered the living room, her face a careful mask. "Mother," Ethan said formally, "I'd like you to meet Maya Brooks. Maya, this is my mother, Clara Ward." Clara's eyes swept over Maya, taking in every detail. "Miss Brooks," she said coolly, "I've heard so much about you." "Mrs. Ward," Maya replied, keeping her voice steady. "Thank you for seeing us." "Please sit," Clara said, gesturing to the sofa across from her. An uncomfortable silence fell as they sat. Maya fought the urge to fidget under Clara's critical gaze. "Ethan tells me you're studying to be a teacher," Clara finally said. "Yes, elementary education," Maya confirmed. "I have 1 semester left." "A noble profession," Clara said, though her tone suggested she thought otherwise. "Not particularly well paid, though." "Mother," Ethan warned. "It's just an observation, darling," Clara said with a thin smile. "I'm simply trying to understand what Miss Brooks and you have in common." "We have what matters in common," Ethan replied. "Values, dreams, how we treat people." Clara sipped her tea delicately. "And what about your future, Ethan?" "The company? The legacy your father built? The board was quite upset by your absence yesterday." "The company will be fine," Ethan said. "And Dad's legacy isn't about board meetings or profit margins. It's about integrity, about building something meaningful. And you think this relationship is meaningful?" Clara asked skeptically. "It's the most meaningful thing in my life," Ethan said firmly. Maya's heart swelled at his words, giving her courage. "Mrs. Ward," she said, "I understand your concerns. Ethan and I come from different worlds, but I care about your son for who he is, not what he has." "Many women have said similar things," Clara replied coldly, "and yet mysteriously they all wanted the lifestyle my son's wealth provides." "I don't," Maya said simply. "I have my own dreams, my own plans. I want to teach children, to make a difference in their lives. I didn't ask for Ethan to come into my life with his vow and his wealth and his complications. And yet here you are," Clara observed. "Yes," Maya agreed. Because despite everything, despite all the reasons we shouldn't work, I love your son." The declaration hung in the air. Ethan's hand tightened around hers. Clara studied Maya's face for a long moment. "You realize people will talk. They'll say unkind things about both of you. They'll question your motives, question Ethan's judgment." "Let them talk," Ethan said. "We know the truth. And what about children?" Clara pressed. "Have you thought about how difficult it will be for them, straddling two different worlds?" Maya felt a flash of anger. "Children with love and support can overcome anything. My mother raised Daniel and me alone, with no money and no advantages. We turned out just fine, did you?" Clara asked, raising an eyebrow. "And where is your mother now?" Maya's chin lifted. "She died 2 years ago. Cancer. But she lived to see me get into college, to see Daniel become a certified mechanic. She'd be proud of us." Something flickered in Clara's eyes. Not quite softening, but a hint of respect. "Ethan's father died of cancer too," she said quietly. "It's a terrible disease." The shared pain created a tiny bridge between them. Not acceptance, not yet, but a moment of shared humanity. "Mother," Ethan said gently, "I'm not asking for your blessing, though I'd like it. I'm telling you that Maya is part of my life now. An important part." Clara sighed, suddenly looking older, more vulnerable. "You're so like your father sometimes. Stubborn, idealistic." She set down her teacup. "I can't pretend to understand this choice, Ethan, but you're a grown man. I can't stop you. It wasn't an endorsement, but it wasn't outright rejection either. For now it was enough." "That went better than expected," Ethan said as they left Clara's building. "She didn't throw anything." Maya gave him a look. "Is that your standard for a good meeting? No physical violence? With my mother?" "Absolutely." Ethan laughed, then grew serious. "Thank you for coming. I know it wasn't easy." "She loves you," Maya said. "That's something I understand." Ethan pulled her close on the sidewalk, not caring who saw them. "And I love you." "Both my stubborn, protective women." Maya smiled against his chest. "What now? Your board still needs a meeting. Your mother still wants you with someone suitable. The world is still going to talk." "Now," Ethan said, pulling back to look at her, "we live our lives together." The simple declaration made everything else seem manageable. Together they could face anything. Over the next few weeks, Maya and Ethan settled into a new rhythm. He came to her small apartment for dinner more often than she went to his penthouse. He met her friends from school. She met his colleagues from work. They learned each other's habits, preferences, the small details that made up a shared life. It wasn't always easy. Sometimes the differences in their worlds felt too wide to bridge, like when Ethan casually suggested flying to Paris for the weekend, forgetting that Maya had never even been on a plane. Or when Maya couldn't understand why Ethan would pay hundreds of dollars for a bottle of wine when the $10 kind tasted just fine to her. But for every misunderstanding, there were a dozen moments of connection. Ethan taught Maya how to write code. She taught him how to change a tire. He helped her study for her education finals. She helped him remember how to have fun without spending money. And there were the quiet moments, lying on the couch watching old movies, walking through the park holding hands, waking up next to each other on lazy Sunday mornings, that made everything else fade away. One evening, Ethan arrived at Maya's apartment looking serious. "What's wrong?" Maya asked, immediately worried. "Nothing's wrong," Ethan assured her. "But I need to talk to you about something." They sat on the couch, Ethan looking uncharacteristically nervous. "I had a meeting with the board today," he began. "They've been worried about my focus lately." Maya's stomach tightened. "Because of me?" "No," Ethan said firmly. "Because of me. I've been running on autopilot for years, Maya, building the company bigger and bigger without asking why, making money without purpose. And now I want something different," Ethan explained. "I've decided to step back from day-to-day operations. I'm promoting James to CEO while I focus on a new project." "What project?" Maya asked, curious. Ethan's eyes lit up with excitement. "A foundation, the Ward Educational Foundation, to help disadvantaged students pursue higher education, to fund innovative teaching programs, to build better schools in underserved areas." Maya stared at him, stunned. "Ethan, that's amazing." "It's something my father always talked about doing," Ethan continued. "Using our wealth to make a real difference in education. But after he died, I got caught up in growing the business instead. I lost sight of the larger purpose. What changed? Maya asked softly, though she knew the answer. You, Ethan said simply. Seeing your passion for teaching, hearing about the obstacles you've overcome to get your degree. It reminded me that education changes lives, and I have the resources to help make that happen for others. Maya's eyes filled with tears. This man, who had everything the world could offer, had looked at her life, her ordinary, struggling, hopeful life, and found inspiration instead of limitation. I have something else to ask you, Ethan said, taking her hands in his. The foundation needs a director, someone who understands education from the ground up, someone with passion and vision. Maya's eyes widened. Me? Ethan, I'm not even a teacher yet. I have no experience running a foundation. You have the heart, Ethan insisted. The rest we can figure out together. Think about it, Maya. You could help shape educational opportunities for thousands of kids like you, bright, deserving children who just need a chance. The idea was overwhelming, terrifying, and thrilling all at once. I'd need to finish my degree first, Maya said cautiously. Of course, Ethan agreed. The foundation won't be operational for at least 6 months anyway. Plenty of time for you to graduate and get some classroom experience. Maya's mind raced with possibilities. Working alongside Ethan, helping children like she'd always dreamed, but on a scale she'd never imagined possible. Can I think about it? She asked. Take all the time you need, Ethan said, kissing her forehead. It's a big decision. The next day, Maya found herself sitting in a cafe with Tina and Daniel, discussing Ethan's proposal. It's perfect for you, Tina insisted. So you get to help kids and work with your hot millionaire boyfriend. But what if I'm terrible at it? Maya worried. What if I fail and waste all that money that could have helped people? You won't fail, Daniel said with unusual gentleness. And even if you make mistakes at first, you'll learn. That's who you are, Maya, someone who never gives up. What about teaching? Maya asked. I've worked so hard to become a teacher. You'd still be helping children learn, Tina pointed out. Just in a different way. A bigger way. Maya sipped her coffee thoughtfully. Ethan's mother will think he created this position just for me. Did he? Daniel asked bluntly. No, Maya said after a moment's reflection. Education was his father's passion. This is about honoring that legacy. I think he'd be starting the foundation even if he'd never met me. But meeting you reminded him of what really matters, Tina said with a smile. That's not manipulation, Maya, that's inspiration. Maya thought about the look in Ethan's eyes when he described the foundation, the purpose, the passion, the return of the idealistic young man who had once coded in his dorm room, wanting to build something meaningful. I think I'm going to say yes, she said finally. But not until after I graduate. I want to earn this, not just have it handed to me because I'm Ethan's girlfriend. Daniel nodded approvingly. That's my sister. Always doing things the hard way. The right way, Maya corrected with a smile. Weeks passed and Maya's life settled into a busy but happy routine. She finished her classes, prepared for final exams, and spent whatever free time she had with Ethan. The press occasionally took photos of them together, but the novelty of their relationship had faded as newer scandals took center stage. Clara remained cool but civil, inviting them to Sunday brunches that were tense but no longer hostile. Small progress, but progress nonetheless. One rainy Saturday, Ethan suggested they visit his cottage again. Are you sure? Maya asked hesitantly. Last time didn't end well. That's why we need to go back, Ethan insisted. Make new memories to replace the bad ones. Maya agreed, and they drove out of the city as the rain beat against the windshield. The countryside looked different in the grey light, more mysterious, more magical somehow. When they arrived at the cottage, Ethan built a fire while Maya prepared a simple dinner. They ate by firelight, reminiscing about their first meeting, laughing at how far they'd come. After dinner, Ethan seemed nervous, checking his watch. Glancing out the window, "Are you expecting someone?" Maya asked suspiciously. "What? No, of course not," Ethan said quickly. "I was just checking if the rain had stopped. I thought we might go for a walk. In the dark." "In the mud?" Maya raised an eyebrow. "The garden has lights," Ethan pointed out. "And the path is paved, please." "There's something I want to show you." Curious despite herself, Maya agreed. They put on raincoats and boots, and Ethan led her outside. The rain had indeed stopped, leaving everything fresh and glistening in the moonlight that peeked through breaking clouds. Ethan guided her down a stone path that wound through the garden to a small gazebo. Maya hadn't noticed on her previous visit. As they approached, she gasped. The gazebo was transformed. Hundreds of tiny lights twinkled from its roof and posts, and the floor was covered with rose petals. In the center stood a small table with a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. "Ethan," Maya breathed. "What is all this?" He guided her up the steps and into the magical space. "I wanted tonight to be special." "Mission accomplished," Maya said, turning in a slow circle to take in all the lights. "It's beautiful." Ethan took both her hands in his. "Maya Brooks, when I made that ridiculous vow at my birthday party, I was angry and bitter and lonely. I had everything money could buy, and nothing that truly mattered." Maya's heart began to race as she realized what was happening. "Then you walked through my door," Ethan continued, "with your honesty and your strength and your beautiful heart, and suddenly I could see clearly again. You didn't care about my money or my status. You saw me, the real me, flaws and all, and somehow, miraculously, you loved me anyway." Tears filled Maya's eyes as Ethan sank to one knee, still holding her hands. "I'm not asking you to marry me because of a silly vow," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm asking because I love you more than I thought possible. Because you make me better. Because I can't imagine my life without you in it." He released one of her hands to pull a small velvet box from his pocket. When he opened it, Maya saw not the massive diamond she might have expected, but a simple, elegant ring with a single, perfect stone. "It was my grandmother's," Ethan explained. "My father gave it to my mother when they had nothing but dreams and each other. It seems fitting for us." Maya could barely see through her tears. This man, who could have bought her any ring in the world, was offering his family's heirloom, a symbol not of wealth, but of legacy, of history, of belonging. "Maya Brooks," Ethan said, his own eyes shining. "Will you marry me? Not because of a vow, but because I love you." Maya pulled him to his feet, wrapping her arms around his neck. "Yes," she whispered against his lips. "Yes, I'll marry you." Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger, then kissed her beneath the twinkling lights as the moon broke fully through the clouds, casting silver light over them like a blessing. Planning a wedding that would satisfy both their worlds proved challenging. Ethan's mother pushed for a grand affair at the country club. Daniel argued for a simple ceremony at their local community center. In the end, it was Clara who surprised everyone. After weeks of tense discussions, she invited Maya to tea alone. "I have a proposition," Clara said once they were settled in her elegant living room. "I know you and Ethan are struggling with wedding plans." "We're fine," Maya said automatically. Clara gave her a knowing look. "My dear, I have excellent sources. I know you two can't agree on a venue, guest list, or even a date." Maya sighed. "It's complicated." "It doesn't have to be," Clara said, setting down her teacup. "What if I told you there's a perfect venue already in the family? Small enough to feel intimate, but special enough for the occasion." Maya looked at her suspiciously. "What venue?" "The cottage garden," Clara said, "where Ethan proposed." Of all the suggestions Maya had expected, this wasn't one of them. "The garden?" Clara nodded. "It's beautiful in spring. We could set up a tent in case of rain, arrange chairs on the lawn, decorate the gazebo for the ceremony. It would be meaningful, I think." Maya studied the older woman's face. "Why are you suggesting this?" Clara was quiet for a moment, then spoke softly. "Because Ethan's father and I were married in that garden. It's where we were happiest. The admission felt like a gift, a precious piece of family history being shared. Ethan doesn't know that, does he?" Maya asked gently. Clara shook her head. "We never told him. After James died, it was too painful to visit the cottage. I only started going again recently. Like the morning I left," Maya said, understanding dawning. "Yes," Clara admitted. "I go there sometimes to feel close to James. That morning I was missing him terribly. I said things I shouldn't have. Cruel things about you. It was as close to an apology as Maya had ever heard from the proud woman. A garden wedding sounds perfect," Maya said softly. "Thank you." Clara reached across the table and briefly touched Maya's hand, the first voluntary physical contact between them. "He loves you," she said simply. "As James loved me. That's what matters in the end." The wedding day dawned clear and bright. Maya stood in a bedroom at the cottage, Tina helping her with the simple white dress they had found at a boutique in the city. "You look beautiful," Tina said, adjusting the flowers in Maya's hair. "Like a princess." Maya looked at her reflection in the mirror. The dress was elegant without being extravagant. The flowers were from the cottage garden, and her mother's pearls hung around her neck, old, new, borrowed. "And blue all taken care of. I can't believe this is happening," Maya whispered. A knock at the door revealed Daniel in a dark suit, looking handsome and slightly uncomfortable. "Wow," he said when he saw his sister. "Mom would be so proud." Maya blinked back tears. "I wish she was here." "She is," Daniel said, touching her heart. "Right here," he offered his arm. "Ready to marry your millionaire?" Maya laughed through her tears. More than ready. The garden was transformed. White chairs lined a grassy aisle that led to the gazebo, now draped in flowers and ribbons. A small group of guests waited. Ethan's colleagues and Maya's friends from school and work, sitting side by side without regard for wealth or status. At the entrance to the garden path, Maya paused, taking in the scene. Ethan stood at the front, tall and handsome in his suit, talking with the officiant. Clara sat in the front row, elegant in pale blue, her eyes suspiciously bright. As the music began, everyone turned. Ethan's face, when he saw Maya, transformed with such joy that she felt it radiate through her own body. This was right. This was meant to be. Walking down the aisle on Daniel's arm, Maya held Ethan's gaze. In that moment, their different backgrounds, the obstacles they'd overcome, the doubters they'd faced, none of it mattered. When Daniel placed her hand in Ethan's, he whispered, "Take care of each other." The ceremony was short and heartfelt. They had written their own vows, promises not of blind devotion but of partnership, growth and unwavering support. "I promise to see you," Maya said, her voice clear and strong. "Not your wealth or your status, but you. Your heart, your dreams, your struggles. I promise to stand with you through whatever comes, to build a life of purpose and meaning together." "I promise to listen," Ethan replied, his eyes never leaving hers. "To hear not just your words but your hopes and fears. I promise to walk beside you, not ahead or behind, to support your dreams as fiercely as my own. To remember every day that love is not possession, but freedom." When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, their kiss was a seal on all they had promised, tender but strong, like the love that had brought them to this moment. At the reception, held under a white tent on the lawn, Clara surprised everyone by taking the microphone. "Many of you know I wasn't enthusiastic when Ethan told me about Maya," she began, causing a ripple of nervous laughter. "I was wrong." The simple admission silenced the room. "My son has found what his father and I once had, a love based not on convenience or advantage, but on seeing and accepting each other completely." Clara raised her glass. "To Ethan and Maya, may your differences strengthen you and may your love be your greatest adventure." Later, as they danced beneath the stars, Ethan held Maya close. "Happy?" he asked. "More than I ever thought possible," she replied, resting her head on his shoulder. From the edge of the dance floor, Clara watched them with a bittersweet smile. Daniel approached and offered his hand. "Would you like to dance, Mrs. Ward?" he asked formally. Clara's eyebrows rose in surprise, but she accepted. As they joined the other couples, Daniel said quietly, "They're going to be okay, aren't they?" Clara followed his gaze to Maya and Ethan, lost in their own world. "Yes," she said with newfound certainty. "They're going to be just fine." 1 year later, Maya stood in the newly renovated headquarters of the Ward Educational Foundation. Through the windows, she could see children playing in the courtyard of the adjacent school. The foundation's first major project, bringing quality education to one of the city's most underserved neighborhoods. Strong arms wrapped around her from behind. "Admiring our handiwork?" Ethan asked, pressing a kiss to her neck. "It's amazing what we've accomplished in a year," Maya said, leaning back against him. 300 scholarships, 10 school renovation projects, 50 teacher grants. "And this is just the beginning," Ethan reminded her. "We have big plans for year 2. Maya turned in his arms to face him. "Speaking of plans, there's something I need to tell you." Ethan's eyebrows rose. "Sounds serious." "It is," Maya confirmed, taking his hand and placing it gently on her stomach. "We're going to need to add a nursery to the cottage." Ethan's eyes widened, then filled with wonder. "You're pregnant?" Maya nodded, her own eyes shining. "Apparently that weekend getaway to celebrate our anniversary was especially successful. Ethan let out a whoop of joy, lifting Maya off her feet and spinning her in a circle. When he set her down, he cupped her face in his hands. "I love you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Both of you." "We love you too," Maya replied, standing on tiptoe to kiss him. That evening they sat on the porch of their cottage, not Ethan's hideaway anymore, but their home. Maya had insisted they keep her apartment in the city too, a reminder of where they'd started and a place to stay when they worked late at the foundation. "Boy or girl?" Ethan asked, his hand resting protectively on Maya's still flat stomach. "Too soon to tell," Maya said with a smile. "Does it matter?" "Not at all," Ethan assured her. "Healthy is all I care about. And loved," Maya added. "This child will be so loved." "By all of us," Ethan agreed. "Mother is going to spoil them rotten." Maya laughed, thinking of how Clara had softened over the past year, becoming if not warm, then at least genuinely supportive. Daniel, too. He's already talking about teaching them how to fix cars. They fell into a comfortable silence, watching the sun set over the garden where they had been married. "Do you ever think about that night?" Ethan asked. "The night we met." "Your ridiculous vow?" Maya teased. "How could I forget? Best mistake I ever made," Ethan said, pulling her close. "Who says it was a mistake?" Maya replied, echoing words from long ago. "Maybe it was fate." Ethan kissed the top of her head. "Fate, luck, or destiny, I'm just grateful it led me to you." As stars appeared in the darkening sky, Maya thought about their journey, from a reckless vow to a deep and lasting love. They had faced doubt, prejudice, and fear. They had overcome pride and differences to build something beautiful together. It hadn't been easy, and the path forward wouldn't always be smooth. But they had found in each other the courage to be vulnerable, to trust, to stand against the world's expectations and follow their hearts. And that, Maya knew, was the greatest gift of all, not wealth or status or even security, but the brave, wild, wonderful leap of faith called love. The end.